Of the CrownBet Darwin Triple Crown, and it's great to have you with us here on Fox Sports this Saturday as we get set for a big day of action on track. Supercars have one final practice session this morning. As we count down to that, let's get on track with improved production. It's a very good morning to Chad Naylon in commentary.
And it's a very good morning indeed, Jess. The sun is shining here in the top end. There is no place you'd rather be. Come mid-June, Warren Luff, we are ready to go for improved production. It's warm, sunny conditions. You can pretty much just guarantee that when you come to the top end of this time of the year, Warren, it's going to be beautiful conditions for race cars, and that's exactly what we've got. Tim Playford in the Mazda on the pole, alongside the BMW of Robert Braun. All the way through this field, we've got plenty of variety and some familiar names like Bryce Forward.
Bryce Forward there, first of the Commodore Cup competitors, did a great job there in qualifying, just over 2 seconds faster than the next car out there, so he's going to be one to watch in this field today.
Watch out for Lee Holdsworth's dad, he's out there as well. I was enjoying watching Lee's Instagram commentary of his old man out there yesterday. Eben A. Coates, one of the mid-pack contenders, and definitely one to watch out for in this race, has been improved production racing for a very long time now. And we've also got the old HQs out there. How good's that? Yeah,
the HQ guys, they'll be out there sort of mixing it up, and it's going to be interesting because obviously as the race sort of goes on, the quick guys come around, lap traffic is going to become a big issue in this race.
We predict about 4 laps until we get to the traffic. There is about a 19-second difference in lap speed, which will be even greater in a race. Make that about 25 seconds. One guy who loves these cars and is happy to see a Mazda on pole. It's a good morning to Cameron van der Nugget.
There's a couple of Mazdas up there, Chad. I do love a rotary engine, but watch out for Rob Braun in that BMW. He's all the way from Victoria, and I can tell you he is big on throwing some elbows out there and is a very, very talented driver. I can tell you, Chad, since you did your little Facebook Live thing this morning, the temperature's actually spiked a bit. The sun is out, and I'm feeling the ambient start to rise. So it's going to be a relatively hot day. The wind is coming from behind the pit building, so it'll actually be a cross breeze down this pit straight.
Great to have Cameron in the lane today. Loves his improved production racing. You may have seen him on our coverage at the Adelaide 500. And down at the ski club last night, he was telling everyone that he could beat everyone on track today in his Mazda. But we'll have to wait and see. Hopefully we can convince Cameron to bring it out to the track again as we get set for the first race of the day. We've got Porsche Carrera Cup, we've got Touring Car Masters, we've got the little Aussie racing cars. Bryce Forward's doing double duties. He's going to be a busy boy today, making the most of his home race here in Darwin.
Now, one of the things we've seen in this race in years gone by is some of the turbocharged cars tend to struggle over the race distance. Now, it's only 8 laps, but as Cam was saying down there in the pit lane, ambient temperature is up this morning. It's not as cool as it has been for these guys in the previous practice session. So will we see some reliability issues start to become a problem for some of these guys?
And the V8s in particular will be strong away from the start line and down towards turn 1. Same story for any four-wheel drive cars out there as well. Always quick off the line. It's a big grid of cars. Quarter-mile drag strip to the left-hand side. They run up at this time of year when the rest of the country is shivering. There's a speedway. There's a mud buggy track around the corner as well. There's a go-kart circuit. It's a proper motorsport precinct. And the supercars have been running here for 21 years. There is Lee Holdsworth's dad, part of the Commodore Cup. So it's 3 races all in one here. And improved production broken into 2 classes, under and over 2 litres. Let's hope we get a clean start, get this field off towards turn 1. It's a stacked grid. 34 entries ready to go. All the way back down to the HQs at the back. Time to do it, Darwin. How's the build-up? It's like the build-up to wet season out there at the moment.
Watch for the big drag race down to the first corner, because from the start line down to the first turn, it's a big run down there, so a good start's going to be critical for all of these guys.
Time to go racing at the top end. The sun is shining and we're racing, and it's the BMW with a cracking start. Leaves the pole sitter Playford in his wake. The mighty Beamer, it's broken away to a 5-car length lead before the first corner as the Mazdas fan out. Jessup on the outside in the Commodore. He's got the retro HRT paint job down the side. Everyone's giving each other a fair bit of room down there.
Everyone's being very, very kind through this first sort of turn, but for Braun, he's now going to want to get his head down and try and sort of get away. You saw he got the jump there. Didn't even have to worry about going defensive down there into turn 1 on that sort of off the start. So really good for him. Usually we see sort of a little bit of drama coming up here into turn 4, but again, everyone's being quite sort of very polite in the way that they're giving each other plenty of racing room out there.
Looked like a really quick cycle with the red light going on and off. wonder if that's what caught the pole sitter out. They're all safely through the valley. Braun leads the way. It's a naturally aspirated BMW. If you're watching the coverage yesterday, we were querying whether or not this had a turbo because it's got an incredible sound to it. When I had a quick look at that car on the dummy grid, it's running triple Weber carbies and everything in there. It's quite an old school setup, but very, very cool indeed.
This is where horsepower comes into play on the big long straight. You can see he's already going defensive, so he knows that he's had a horsepower sort of deficit coming down this big long front straight. But it's actually taking a while for the RX3 to sort of wind up as they head down towards the braking area at turn 1.
Pulled a car length or two back, but not quite enough. Lubergang fancies a shot at Jessup under brakes. Now, we've seen Michael Lubergang winning these races in the last few seasons. Gee, that was tight. Was there a touch between the two? Right at corner exit. It's close.
And this is one of the hard things as a driver in this category, because you've got cars of different performance. So some cars have got really good horsepower for the big long front straight here, but then some of the smaller cars are clearly much better through some of the tighter sort of twistier stuff there. So it's all about trying to sort of play to the strengths of your car, but then obviously try and sort of capitalise on the weakness of the guys that you're racing with as well.
We've seen some cracking improved production races over the last couple of years, particularly in Adelaide. It's been a big part of the show here in Darwin for a while. They take a very different line through there, not even close to our curb camera. Supercars will be crawling all over that later today.
I don't know if it was an intentional sort of line through there, or you can actually hear from the camera there was a fair bit of understeer going on, so I think it was more sort of understeer than intention to not be near that camera.
Lap 2 complete. And already the gap between the guys who are first and the guys at the back, nearly a minute in 2 laps of racing. It's huge. Let's check out the start again. Poor Mazda just didn't get it going. Live action on the bottom right-hand side. That was Lubergang getting the job done on Jessup. So it was a 3-wide Mazda race down to turn 1. Just a difference in reaction time, wasn't it?
Yeah, just missed the lights, and then obviously he was probably a little bit sort of aggressive getting the clutch out, and you could see the car really bogged down, which obviously hurt his initial launch as well. So the guys around him certainly got a really good start, and straight away he's had to go very defensive to try and not lose any more positions on the run down to the first corner.
Great battle down towards turn 1. Extremely clean at that point as well. Being very polite. And I can see this from the commentary box window. One of the HQs, I guess you could say, breathing rather heavily. That's Ling in the 76.
Sending smoke signals back to the crew.
And unfortunately, that car back in the lane. It's great to have the HQ Racing Association tied in with what we see up here in the top end. But that looks fairly terminal. And hasn't even bothered to stop in the lane. He sent it straight out to the paddock. Battle is on. Watch the big V8s go at it.
It's kind of like the history of Commodore right there in one shot.
All the way to the Club Sport at the front. Plenty of variety in the field. That's Salmon in the 44, the Renko Club Sport. Incredibly popular form of motorsport across the country. Improved production. A bit of a run, what you brung, sort of old school category. A pretty tight rule book around, you know, exactly what engine combinations you can run with what car. If you've got one of the HQs fishtailing its way back around. But Cameron, the popularity and improved production is still very much prevalent.
It's continuing to grow, Chad. You'll be having nationals later on this year at the new Taylor Benny track. A lot of cars prepping. That's why Rob Braun will be up here at the moment, getting his car ready for that. Very popular category up here in the Northern Territory. Improved production, as it says, is basically taking a production car and improving it with some tight regulations. You say run what you've run, but if you look at some of the cars at the front of this grid at a national level, they are exceptional, almost works of art.
Taylor Ben, what a cool location that is to host the Improved Production Nationals. And a great location for the supercars we'll be visiting there in August. Here's Bryce Forward at the back of that pack, trying to reel them in as we'll check out a replay of the HQs. Oh, all by himself.
Big spin on the exit there. This is where, as a driver, you're quickly trying to grab a gear, get going again, minimise the loss.
Got to point it in the right direction. Traffic can't be too far away here for the leaders to deal with as we watch this multi-car battle. Simon leading this pack. Then it's Smith forward. Winans as we go over the curves. Great shot. We're into the traffic. It was pending, wasn't it? So they start to filter through the HQs. And this turn 6.
And this is where, for the leaders, this is where it's going to start to become really critical to be able to sort of work their way through the traffic as cleanly and efficiently as they can. The hard thing is always when you're the first guy to arrive on that sort of lap traffic, you're the guy that's kind of got to sort of make your way through there and let those guys know that obviously the leaders are coming through. So this is going to be interesting how this plays out for all these guys.
Fair old battle this. They've been swapping it over through the valley. Forward wants a piece of the action. Commodore Cup class leader at the moment.
Just doesn't quite have the horsepower of the other generation Commodores out there.
Guys, you were talking about Commodore Cup. Well, you see Bryce Fullwood's out there running around. And your father, Lee Holdsworth, was one of the pioneers and one of the runners of that category back in the day. And now he just comes out for one-off races at the Northern Territory.
Yeah, I think he's trying to be king of Darwin. This is his only track. So he comes up here for the series up here. There he goes. Looks like he's having a good run. Looks like he's having a great time. So that's all that matters. But yeah, he leaves the car up here and comes back and tries to get a trophy each time.
Well, he's running 15th at the moment. He doesn't actually live up here, though, does he? He just leaves the car up here. A lot of people will be wondering, why has he only run this race?
It's a good question. I think he enjoys, they get plenty of Commodore Cup cars up here, and they're a great bunch of guys, so he enjoys coming back each time.
And, mate, you and your brother used to run around in these cars back in the day too, didn't you?
It's one of the best categories that we ever saw, I think, in this country. And in terms of the feeder categories, it was a one-make series, obviously, with very equal equipment, and it really showed a good driver.
Thanks, Lee. I'll let you get back to it.
Thanks, buddy. Cheers.
Nice work, Cam. He's in the middle of a really hot battle for second in class at the moment. And Holdsworth beat Dempsey. Dempsey just has his nose in front in the 7. This is the battle we were talking about earlier. These guys fighting inside the top 10 outright. That's a big slide. Catch.
Big slide through the corner. You can just see he's just held it tight right at the apex there, tried to get hard on the throttle, and just round it goes.
Saying traffic's always going to be a lot of fun. How about this? The little Mazda just rounding up 3 HQs around the outside.
And that's a clear sort of demonstration of the speed difference of some of these cars. To be able to come out in that short little straight, go past 3 guys, round the outside, and keep going on.
So Braun's going on with this. He's got a 1.8 second lead. As things start to settle down at the front from Playford. Michael Ubergang, who's driven well, sitting top 3. It's a really bizarre sound to this car. It's not just the science of improved production. It's also the sounds. There's so much variety. Have a listen to this.
And like what you were touching on before, the great thing about this category is each sort of person has got their own sort of preferred sort of car and sort of what they sort of like and everything like that. And basically you can build just about anything to sort of suit this category. Hey, I even started out in improved productions way back in the day. I had a little Mazda RX-3 and still for me, some of the best racing I've ever had and some of the great times that I've had in my motorsport career have been in and around this category. So it's, someone's not having such a good day now.
That's a shame for Winans. They were sitting with that battle with Bryce Fullwood and the 2 big Commodores. And it's funny how some of the older combinations are still so successful in this category, have been for decades.
Oh yeah, like you look at sort of the RX-3, it's really been sort of one of the foundation cars of improved production car racing. As I said, I started in an RX-3 sort of back in the early 90s, so it's the Rotary and the RX-3 and the RX-7 have really been sort of one of the stablemates of this improved production car category. But sort of as time's gone on and obviously technology's come around, turbocharging, and certainly with sort of some of the V8 cars, the power that they're getting. And when you talk about the Nationals down at Tailem Bend with the big long straight there, it's going to probably be a circuit that's going to suit those cars that have got decent sort of horsepower. But again, there's so many long radius corners down there as well. It's going to be important to have a car that handles well also.
Checkered flag time for the first time this weekend. We'll give it to Rob Braun in the BMW. Nice drive off the front row. Won the start, won the race. And that's the first of 3 to the BMW. The Mazda Playford home for second. Ubergang third. All the way in the background, it's going to be Satchwell for fourth, I should say. Plenty of Mazdas filling these top few spots, but it's advantage BMW. It's a great little drive off the front row.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Playford's going to be a little bit disappointed in that start. I think that was sort of the deciding factor in this race there. So he'll be thinking about that and trying to improve that for the next one.
Further back, this fight inside Commodore Cup still going on. And Holdsworth have to settle for P3 here. As Dempsey will finish second. Bryce Ford, comfortable winner in that class. Cambridge first to the HQs. But they've still pretty much got a lap to go. Checkered flag will finish their race early. They'll get just the 7 laps in. Plenty of battles through this pack. And delighting the Darwin faithful who have come down early today to check out the supercar action. For over 2 decades, the series has been visiting Hidden Valley, and you get the feeling today is going to be a really exciting day. By 2.5 seconds, Rob Braun in the BMW leads home Tim Playford and Adam Ubergang. Well, it's Mike Ubergang in that car at the moment. We'll see Adam Ubergang a bit later on when we get through to the Aussie racing cars, all the way down through this massive field of cars. They lapped all the way to 17th in the end. Yeah, it was always going to happen for those sort of guys at the back of the field there. So, again, but these guys put on some great racing out there. Certainly those guys in the HQs, they're having their own sort of little battles, and they're enjoying themselves as well. Quite a few ladies out there in this field as well. Added to the variety, a couple cars not making it out for today's race. It was a clean one, 8 laps. A couple of the HQs had a few moments. Let's relive it. It was all about the start.
Yeah, certainly was there. Braun clearly got the jump off there, got the clean run down to turn 1, and really that was sort of the deciding factor for these guys in the race.
Fanned out towards the first corner. Everyone was being very polite, giving each other a fair bit of racing room. Unfortunately, some didn't quite make it the full distance. That looked fairly terminal. Hopefully hasn't dropped too much oil. A big spin. Those 2 incidents were surprisingly unrelated.
Grab another gear and get out of there.
Old school HQ racing. If you're a fan of motorsport in the 90s, you would have delighted at the HQs with their giant fields and Robbings Racing's attitude. How about Ubergang rounding up the traffic? That's where power matters.
It certainly does. You can see in that short little straight there to be able to come up around the outside of 3 cars, and even just the grip level that the RX3 has to be able to go around the outside there. Not a usual overtaking maneuver you see.
This man led all 8 laps. Set the quickest lap of the race with a 1:16.4. It's about 10 seconds slower than a supercar, to give you a little bit of perspective. Looking very nice for the rest of the weekend. He's earned himself a front row start for later today as well. And it's the Braun Super Tune 86 BMW taking the win. What a great way to start the action. They're headed to the lane. We're headed to an ad break, I should say. It's the